Hey guys, what is going on? I have a bonus video for you. I just watched Highlanders versus Hurricanes. I thought I'd just pop on here and give you my thoughts on the game. Man, Marvel superhero round, kids round. Highlanders were dressed up like Hulk. They had green on their jerseys. Not the lime green that was so controversial a few years back, but the classic Hulk green. And then the Hurricanes looked like Captain America. And for a while, I can assure you this game was more entertaining than Captain America Brave New World, which I endured on this trip to Australia. But ultimately, this was a game determined by inaccuracy rather than any single brilliant play from either team. They both built many phases throughout the game. In fact, the Hurricanes racked up 15 plus phases early on. They looked terrific with ball in hand. Having Du'Plessis Kirifi back on deck made a huge difference. His absence was so telling. They went down to Moana Pacifica. It was that team's first win of the season. Adi Savia's men haven't been able to get up all year. Pretty telling that with Kirifi not turning out to play, the men from New Zealand's capital went down, but they looked better today. And I took one look at the bench and I just thought, man, that thing is stacked with All Blacks. I figured the Canes would get up just purely on the basis of having a superior bench. No real superstars on the bench for the Highlanders, but the starting 15s were pretty evenly matched. You did have some real firepower from Ruben, who had some magical touches early on. Like, he just got a couple of miracle balls away, and that led to the Canes' first early try. He did also put the ball out on the full. He was guilty of pushing passes like a lot of players, so a little bit of a mixed night for Ruben, who is just coming back. In the 10th minute, the winger, Punavai from the Hurricanes, he got yellow carded, but not only that, he got concussed. He went in too high against Tavatava Nawai, who was just a wrecking ball tonight for the Highlanders. But Punavai went in too high, cleaned himself out, hit the deck. I mean, he saw stars immediately, and then he got carded. So that was interesting, to say the least. Good thing it didn't get upgraded to a red. I mean, we need some common sense here. If you get knocked out making a tackle, how dangerous was the tackle? Even if there was head-to-head or head-on-shoulder contact, I mean, come on. It's a good thing that common sense prevailed there. But ultimately, even with the numerical advantage, the Highlanders couldn't do a lot. Ethan de Groot was looking good in midfield. I was keeping my eye on the All Blacks out there. Ethan de Groot had some beautiful deft touches in midfield, handling the ball, sending it out the back door. And then on the other side, for the Canes, Xavier Numia, he did bring a bit of defensive sting. That was good to see him back out there. But ultimately, both sides were guilty of just kicking too much ball down the throats of the opposition fullback, handing over possession needlessly, kicks out on the full. It was just a bit of a catalogue of kicking errors. And again, both teams built a great platform. They racked up multiple phases, but they didn't execute clinically when it came time to score. Sometimes they ran out of ideas, they went to the boot, and the kicking game was just as inaccurate as the handling game. But in the 36th minute, Caleb Tangitau intercepted a pass, and he ran 70 meters to score. So that got the home team with some points on the board and maybe sniffing a little bit of a momentum turn, but didn't quite go that way because right after the break, Roigard scored off a break from the centre, Sullivan. And that was a break that Roigard himself actually created with a pop pass. Roigard was looking pretty good out there. A couple of handling errors, maybe not quite at his clinical best. But still, he certainly caught the eye. But speaking of All Blacks, it was really the 49th minute when I turned to my mum and I said, oh man, watch the game turn here, because Tyrell Lomax came on for the Hurricanes, Asafo Amua came on, and, with a front row like that, you just thought, damn, that scrum's going to tighten up. They're going to have more punch in general play. And that's what happened. Asafo Amua looked really good with ball in hand. He punched some holes in the defense. He got the Canes going forward. And by the 62nd minute, I just had a look at the field and I said, man, that's a lot of All Blacks out there. And ultimately, all of those New Zealand national players kind of coalesced, came together to create a try. They drew the Highlanders in, and then ultimately it was Cam Roigard who went right, sniped, got a ball away to Ruben Love, who dotted it down beautifully. He did fly through the air like Superman, so it is appropriate that it was the superhero round. Just a magical try, and you sort of felt like, oof, that might be the killer blow. But the Highlanders, man, they just kept coming back. And in the 71st minute, they were hammering on the Hurricanes try line, so many phases, but ultimately Du'Plessis Kirifi, who I mentioned earlier, turned the ball over. He roared like a lion because he knew how important that was. And you just had to give credit to the Hurricanes. They held on there. I think that there were 25 phases thrown at them when it came to the 76th minute. The Highlanders were racking up the phases, but again, despite Tavatavanawai playing well, punching some holes, getting over the gain line, they just lacked that killer instinct to finish off their opportunities. So the Highlanders couldn't get the ball down. Hurricanes turned it over with a few minutes to go, kicked it down, but again, the Highlanders attacked. They got all the way back down into Hurricanes territory, and it was only a drop goal that was missed from the Highlanders that meant they lost 18 points to 20. But ultimately, what was the deciding factor here? Du'Plessis Kirifi bossing the breakdowns. Certainly all of the All Blacks out there, Cam Roigard, Ruben Love, Asafa Wamua when he came on, Tyrell Lomax, and then Braden Iosi. You know, really good bench for the Canes, super strong. Tough night for the Highlanders. You know, I think that Tavatavanawai played well. Caleb Tangitau was inspirational. He actually sparked an incredible try in the second half for the Highlanders when he got a hold of the ball and kicked it downfield and chased after they'd taken a quick tap. And that led to, you know, an almost Highlanders comeback. Almost. Couldn't quite do it. But not for lack of trying. So they'll be encouraged by this, but I think the Hurricanes are showing that with all their All Blacks back on deck, they're going to be a much more formidable team. So let's see where they go during the season. They're not in such a deep hole that they can't get out of it. They've now won 2 games, so expect the Canes to keep improving with their All Blacks back to full health. And I predict they're going to be definitely in that top 6 by the end of the season if they continue with this kind of form today. But ultimately, they need Kirifi out there. Otherwise, they're not as strong at the breakdown, and they just need better finishing. But again, you know, when you've got Roigard, Ruben Love, Umaga Jensen in the centres, you have a lot of class in the back line. If they can just finish their opportunities better, they'll go far. Right now, they're creating the opportunities. They're racking up the phases. They're not finishing. So if the Hurricanes can learn to finish, they'll be in that top 6 for sure. If we see kind of a bumbling, error-strewn effort like this as it gets down into the deep waters of the season, they're not really going to be a player. All right, guys, I'm getting on a plane back to the States tomorrow. I will be wrapping up the Six Nations. Can't wait to watch France versus Scotland. That's going to determine everything. Hell, the Scots could upset France. Never say never. So I'll be back for that one. I'll see you guys then. Take it easy. All the best. Bye for now, guys.